All right, let's talk about that dreaded check engine light on your Ford. It can be a real head scratcher. But what if that code it's giving you, P0453, is actually way less complicated than it sounds? In this explainer, we are going to break it all down step by step.
You know the feeling, right? You're just driving along, minding your own business, and then bam! There it is, that glowing little engine symbol. It means something's up, but what?
Well, that light is trying to tell you something very specific. It's flagging an error code, P0453. And yes, the official name is a mouthful. Evaporative Emission Control System Pressure Sensor High Input. I know, it sounds super technical, but stick with me. We're going to make sense of it all.
Okay, so let's cut through the jargon. What does that code really mean? In simple terms, your car's brain, the Powertrain Control Module or PCM, is getting a weird signal. There's a sensor in your fuel system that's supposed to measure pressure, and right now it's basically shouting into a megaphone. The voltage reading it's sending is stuck on high, which could mean there's a real pressure problem, or maybe the sensor itself is just on the fritz. So, to get to the bottom of this mystery, we first have to understand the system where this is all happening. It's called the EVAP system. You can kind of think of it as the lungs for your fuel tank.
Here's the deal. Your fuel tank actually needs to breathe to handle pressure changes. But we can't just let raw gasoline fumes vent out into the atmosphere. That's a huge no-no for the environment. So the EVAP system acts like a high-tech trap. Its entire job is to capture those vapors and cleverly send them back into the engine to be burned off. Pretty smart, right?
And the journey those vapors take is actually pretty simple. First, they just form naturally in your gas tank. From there, they get sent to a special holding tank filled with charcoal. Then, when the time is right and the engine's running, a little door called a purge valve opens up and whoosh, the engine's vacuum sucks all those vapors in to be safely burned.
Okay, so now that we know how it's supposed to work, let's get back to our problem. The computer is getting that high-pressure signal. So what's the actual cause? It's time to line up the usual suspects.
And wow, this chart really narrows things down for us. A staggering 60% of the time, the problem is just a faulty fuel tank pressure sensor, or FTP sensor. Add another 30% for bad wiring connected to it, and you're looking at a 90% chance that this is a purely electrical issue. That's a huge clue. It tells us exactly where to start our search.
Now, while that sensor and its wiring are our prime suspects, let's look at the full lineup. You could have something as simple as corroded pins on the connector causing a bad signal. Less commonly, a mechanical part, like a vent valve, could be stuck, causing a real pressure backup. And way down the list of possibilities, we're talking very rare for this specific code, you could have a bad charcoal canister or even a faulty main computer. But odds are, it's one of those first two.
All right, we've got our system, we've got our suspects. Now it's time to put on our detective hats and pinpoint the exact cause.
Your car is probably dropping some other hints besides that light on the dash. For instance, have you noticed it struggles to start right after you fill up with gas? That is a classic symptom. You might also notice a faint smell of fuel or that the engine performance just feels a little off. And, not surprisingly, this will almost always cause you to fail an emissions test.
The key to cracking this case is using a scan tool to look at the live data. See, a healthy sensor's voltage reading will move around. It fluctuates as pressure changes. But when you have a P0453 fault, you'll see that voltage is just stuck. It'll be frozen at a high value, like over 4.5 volts, and it won't budge. You can even take the gas cap off, which should change the pressure, and that number will stay locked right where it is. That's your smoking gun.
So here's your game plan. A simple 3-step process. First, just use your eyes. Do a thorough visual inspection of the wiring and the connector. Look for any obvious damage, like cracks, corrosion, or places where it might be rubbing against something. Step 2, hook up that scan tool and confirm you're seeing that stuck high voltage reading. And finally, step 3, break out a multimeter. Testing the wires right at the sensor's connector is what will tell you for sure if the problem is in the wiring or if the sensor itself has failed.
Okay, the investigation is complete. You've found the culprit. Now it's time to move on to the final and most satisfying step, the fix.
And the solution is almost always one of these two things. If your multimeter found a short or a break in the wiring, you just need to repair that damaged section. But if all the wiring checks out just fine, that only leaves one possibility. The sensor itself is bad. In that case, you just need to replace it.
Now, whatever you do, don't skip this final crucial step. After you've made the repair, you have to use your scan tool to tell the car's computer that the problem is solved. You clear the code from its memory. Then, you take the car for a test drive. That drive is your victory lap, and it confirms that the check engine light is going to stay off for good.
And there you have it. We've gone from a cryptic code to a clear action plan. That intimidating P0453 error, as it turns out, is usually just a simple electrical problem you can track down yourself. So, you now know the what, the why, and the how. The only question left is, are you ready to tackle it?